Welcome back to the 11th Hour Report. The Trump administration has reached the end of its rope with Harvard University. An official letter has been sent asking federal agencies to cancel remaining contracts with that Ivy League school, totaling about $100 million. This after $2.6 billion in federal research grants for the university were stripped in an effort by the Trump administration to take away Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students, blocked by a judge, but it doesn't end there. Trump was also threatening to cut off $3 billion more in Harvard's federal grant funding and pull its tax exemption status. Of course, Harvard could have avoided all of this by cooperating with the administration's efforts to prevent more anti-Semitism on its campus. So why is it so hard for Harvard to comply? For more on the ongoing feud between the president and Harvard University, let's welcome in columnist for the Daily Signal, Jarrett Stepman. Jarrett, welcome back to the show.
Good to be with you, Rick.
So Harvard President Alan Garber responded to the funding cuts by saying the measures the Trump administration have taken don't even hit the same people they believe are causing the problems. So who is being affected by these cuts, and what immediate or long-term consequences could Harvard face from them?
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a situation of fire the firefighter. They're trying to make it seem like all the Trump administration is going after the research of the university, but we know that that money actually goes to the entire function of the university. This floats all the other programs too. And I think what's happening under the Trump administration is, I think, a real reckoning for not just Harvard, but a lot of other elite institutions of education that I think have abused the public trust. They've gotten almost unlimited amount of money from the American public to subsidize a global elite that's, I think, becoming out of touch with the American people, has values that are very different with the majority of Americans. Institutions that have not actually been very positive toward free speech on campus. They have canceled speakers. They have pushed out a diversity of ideas on campus. I mean, these are all things that Trump has brought up. And when you add to that the fact that they have now blatantly, I think, had civil rights violations in the last 4 years and longer, I think that there's a real question as far as how much longer we just continue to shovel money their way. I think that Trump is taking the right steps right now to put pressure on these institutions to either reform or lose that public money that we can use elsewhere.
Well, Jarrett, I read your article on this topic that you posted today. It's brilliant. And it goes into some detail about all these research projects. And they're warning us, oh, these projects might go away if you don't give us that money. But we really don't even know a lot of the projects that they're spending money on, do we? And we don't know the value of all those projects. Maybe some of them we don't even need, and yet we're paying for it without even knowing what we're paying for.
Well, that's just it. I mean, this really, on top of everything else, is accountability for these institutions. I mean, we spend untold amounts of money. I mean, half of the entire budget, certainly the research budget from her, comes from the federal government. And I think we do have a right to ask questions about what we're getting a return on that. I mean, is this just an elite filtering institution that allows people to enter the global elite? Or is this something that we as Americans invest our money in to get a result at the end of the day, something that's serving this country? And if the answer is no, then the question is, why are we sending billions of dollars on institutions that have endowments of $53 billion? I mean, that's larger than the GDP of many countries around the world. Why should the American people, why should the average plumber or welder or any other American be funding this institution when they're really not getting things back, appreciable returns for this? And I think those are the questions that the Trump administration's brought up. I think that going forward, I think the American people should be more diligent about where we spend our money. The fact that Harvard's making squawks about this now, well, you know, they could have stopped this by simply obeying the law and following the law and complying with it. They didn't do that. They wanted to make this about resistance, and now they're paying a price.
And I would submit that if you put those boxes where you check yes or no on the ballots every couple of years when you're voting, do you want to spend billions of dollars on this research program, that research program? I could pretty much guarantee they would lose. They would all lose. Now, I'm not saying all research is bad, but shouldn't we know? I mean, we should know. Now, I do want to share a Truth Social post from President Trump, who said almost 31% of Harvard students are from foreign lands, and yet those countries, some not at all friendly to the United States, pay nothing toward their students' education, nor do they ever intend to. So it's another similar question. Why do we as Americans have to subsidize international students? Should foreign governments contribute financially for their residents' education here?
Yeah, I think that really gets to the detached nature of a lot of these universities. I mean, that wasn't the case half a century ago. Yes, these were elite institutions, but a majority of those who attended were Americans and American citizens. It was noted this is how we're going to educate the American elite. It's since lost that project. It was interesting. Even the Harvard critics was saying that, well, if we lose all of our foreign students, Harvard will no longer be Harvard, but maybe it'll be American for once in a long time. And I think that a lot of Americans, again, they're tired of subsidizing a global elite. I know one of the stories they brought up is that a future Belgian queen can no longer attend Harvard if you block foreign students. I don't think there are a lot of Americans upset about that. I think they're upset about the fact that they pay a lot of money in taxes that goes to these institutions. They've made a lot of promises. Their kids are not going to get into Harvard anytime soon. They might be blocked from doing so. And these institutions have not delivered on the promises that they've come with. And so I think that this is the right move, and maybe this will put some pressure, not just on Harvard, but a lot of other elite universities that I think have spent the American people's money the wrong way and have asked us essentially at the end of the day also to pay off the student loan debt on top of it, these very wealthy institutions. So the whole thing is absurd. Yeah. I'm glad the Trump administration is finally calling it out.
Well, I mean, a lot of this stuff we didn't know about. Most of us never heard about it, never knew about it. And yeah, good for the Trump administration for making it public and making it very clear they will not tolerate discrimination or anti-Semitism. And they accused Harvard of doing just that. So it does look like universities are becoming a safe haven for anti-Semitism disguised as political activism. And we've seen many of these foreign students taking part in these pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protests.
Yeah, and I think that's where Americans are saying, really, enough is enough. I think that there was already a lot of pent-up frustration and anger. These institutions became very politicized, especially in the last 4 years, stepping into every issue. And now suddenly really hiding behind the idea that this is simply free speech, when we've seen a lot of these protests get out of control, getting violent, quite anti-Semitic. Even Harvard had its own study that I think they delayed the release that was quite damning as far as how much anti-Semitism now exists on the Harvard campus. And again, these are the bastions of tolerance and education, that we have a real anti-Semitism problem, that we have people that are disrupting these campuses. Again, these are things that Americans are ultimately paying for. And I think people are saying enough is enough. We're tired of seeing this. These institutions are out of control. We're going to restrain your money until you change things. And that's all the people were asking. And even then, Harvard said, no, we won't do it.
Yeah, it seems like an easy fix. Jarrett Stepman, appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.